Amber Davies just got publicly humiliated, and the woman replacing her did not even try. This might be the most publicly humiliating week in the career of a woman who has spent the last 9 years trying to prove she is more than a reality television contestant. Amber Davies, the Love Island winner, who clawed her way into the West End through sheer stubbornness and a scholarship she earned at 16 years old, just got caught on camera copying the dance moves of the woman standing next to her. The woman hired to be her understudy, and the internet, as the internet does, turned that clip into the kind of viral moment that follows a performer around, like a stray dog that will not stop barking. The video spread across TikTok inside of 48 hours. Millions of views. Comments stacking up faster than anybody at that production company could have been prepared for. And every single one of those comments was asking the same question. Why is the understudy better than the lead? That understudy is Hannah Lowther. She is 28 years old. She grew up in a village called Oakley, just outside Basingstoke in Hampshire. And 5 years ago, she was stacking shelves at a Tesco Express, filming silly musical theatre videos on her phone during her lunch break, wondering if the career she had trained her entire life for was already over before it had started. Today, she is the woman the internet has decided should be playing Elle Woods in the UK and Ireland tour of Legally Blonde. And Amber Davies, the actual lead, the one whose name is on the poster and the press releases and the ticket sales, is at home on antibiotics, recovering from a lingering illness that forced her off stage mid-show this week, while Lowther stepped in and, by all accounts, brought the house down without breaking a sweat. Let me tell you about Amber Davies first, because her story deserves to be understood properly before anybody starts drawing conclusions about what is happening right now. She was born in Denbigh, a small market town in North Wales, with a population of about 8,000 people. Her dad is a plumber. Her mum is a mental health nurse. That is about as working class a background as you can get in Britain. And from a young age, this girl could sing. She was performing in the school choir at Ysgol Glan Clwyd, competing at the Llangollen International Musical Eisteddfod, and catching the attention of a local singing coach named Leah Owen, who clearly saw something in her worth developing. By the time she was 16, Amber had won a scholarship to train at the Erdang Academy in London, one of the country's respected performing arts institutions. She packed her bags, left North Wales, and moved to a city where she did not know a single person, all so she could chase the thing she had wanted since she was a child. She graduated from Erdang in 2016 with a professional diploma in musical theatre. And then, before any of that training could lead anywhere, she did something that would define the next several years of her public life in a way she probably never anticipated. She went on Love Island. The year was 2017. Series 3, she was 20 years old. She coupled up with a hairdresser from Essex named Kem Setonay. The two of them won the show, split the £50,000 prize, and then split from each other about 4 months later, when the reality of post-villa life set in. That part of the story is so ordinary for Love Island contestants that it barely registers anymore. Win the show, do the magazine covers, break up before Christmas. The conveyor belt of British reality television has been running that programme for the better part of a decade. What happened next is where Amber's story becomes genuinely unusual. Most Love Island winners follow a well-worn path: brand deals, clothing lines, the occasional stint on another reality programme, maybe a podcast, and then a slow fade into the background noise of British celebrity culture. Amber did not do that. She went back to musical theatre, properly, professionally. She auditioned, she trained, and in 2019 she made her West End debut as Judy Burnley in 9 to 5 the musical at the Savoy Theatre. That is a real West End credit. That is standing on a London stage 8 shows a week in front of paying audiences who have spent north of 50 quid a seat. The documentary she filmed alongside that run, called Amber and Dolly, 9 to 5, showed her flying to Nashville to meet Dolly Parton herself, and followed the entire arc from audition to opening night. After that came Bring It On, the musical, on tour. Then, a run as Lorraine Baines in Back to the Future, the musical at the Adelphi Theatre, which is where she met her current boyfriend, actor Ben Joyce, who was playing Marty McFly opposite her. Then Vivian Ward in the UK tour of Pretty Woman. And then, in 22.5, she originated the role of Jordan Baker in the West End premiere of The Great Gatsby at the London Coliseum, performing alongside Jamie Moscato, Frances Mailey McCann, and Corbin Bleu. That is 5 West End and touring credits in 6 years. For somebody who came into the theatre industry carrying the stigma of being a reality TV winner, that is a body of work that commands respect, whether the theatre establishment wants to grant it willingly or not. And just 4 days ago, on the 8th of March 2026, at the 26th Annual What's on Stage Awards, held at the London Palladium, Amber Davies won Best Supporting Performer in a Musical for her portrayal of Jordan Baker in The Great Gatsby. Those awards are voted for entirely by the public, by the theatregoers themselves, and she beat a field that included performers from Evita, Hercules, Paddington the Musical, and 13 Going on 30. She walked up to that microphone, visibly stunned, and told the audience she was tipsy and gobsmacked. She thanked her fellow nominees, the creative team, her partner Ben, and she did it with the kind of genuine shock that told you she had not rehearsed a word of that speech because she genuinely did not expect to hear her name called. 4 days after that award, she was pulled off stage mid-performance of Legally Blonde with an illness she says has been lingering for a month. She posted on Instagram that her doctor had put her on antibiotics, that she had been trying to perform through it, and that her body was giving out. Her words were worth paying attention to. She said she kept reminding herself that she went from The Great Gatsby straight into a last-minute appearance on Strictly Come Dancing, and then straight into rehearsals for Elle Woods without any meaningful break. Her body, she said, was fighting for its life. Now, about Strictly. That whole chapter of her life was chaos from the word go. In September 2000, Danny Dyer fractured her ankle during rehearsals and had to withdraw from the 23rd series of Strictly Come Dancing before the first live show had even aired. The BBC needed a replacement fast. Amber Davies got the call. She was paired with professional dancer Nikita Kuzmin and had less than 24 hours to prepare for her first live performance. She said at the time it was the craziest day of her life, and from that moment on, she faced a constant barrage of criticism from a very specific corner of the Strictly audience that believed her dance training gave her an unfair advantage over the other contestants. She was in the bottom 2 on at least 2 occasions, even when her scores placed her at the top of the leaderboard. The public vote pushed her down because enough viewers decided she did not deserve to be there. She made the final. She came second. And throughout all of it, she faced the kind of online hostility that she herself described, with a weary familiarity, noting that Leighton Williams and Ashley Roberts and Danny Mack had all faced the same backlash in previous series for having professional dance backgrounds. And here is the moment where you need to hold 2 things in your head at once, because the truth of this whole situation lives in the tension between them. Amber Davies has worked extraordinarily hard to build a legitimate career in musical theatre. She has the credits, the award, and the professional respect of people who have worked alongside her. That is real. That is not manufactured by a PR team or propped up by a fan base. She earned it, And at the same time, something is happening on the Legally Blonde tour that she cannot control. And it is the kind of thing that keeps performers awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling. Hannah Lowther was cast as Margot and the alternate Elle Woods in the UK and Ireland tour of Legally Blonde. That casting was announced in January 2006. The term alternate means that Lowther performs the lead role whenever Davies is unavailable. It is a standard arrangement in touring musical theatre, but the way it has played out in practice is anything but standard. Let me tell you about Hannah Lowther, because her backstory is the kind of thing a screenwriter would reject for being too on the nose. She was born in September 1997 in Basingstoke. She grew up in the village of Oakley, attending Tesbourne Community School, and she started performing on stage as a child. She appeared in productions of The Sound of Music, Oliver, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang before she was old enough to understand that performing was something people did for a living. She trained at the Italia Conti Academy of Theatre Arts, one of the oldest and most respected performing arts schools in the country, and then went on to study at the London School of Musical Theatre. She graduated in July 2019. And then the pandemic happened. Live theatre shut down entirely. The industry Lowther had spent her whole life training to enter simply stopped existing overnight. She found herself working part-time at a Tesco Express in her local area, scanning groceries and stacking shelves, with absolutely no idea when or if the stages would reopen. And in that quiet, frustrating stretch of uncertainty, she started making videos on TikTok. Musical theatre parodies, singing down the aisles, high-energy clips that radiated the kind of infectious positivity that people were desperate for during lockdown. Her first video to go viral was a reworking of Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 inches with the lyrics changed to reference her Tesco job. She kept making them, she kept posting, and she built an audience that now numbers over 1 million followers on TikTok alone. When theatre reopened, Lowther did not wait for the phone to ring. She filmed a self-tape audition on a Friday evening after her Tesco shift, sent it off to a West End casting director, and by Saturday she had been offered a part in Heathers the Musical at the Other Palace. She started rehearsals on Monday morning. Cast as ensemble and understudy for the lead characters, she went on to become the only performer in the history of that production to play all 3 Heathers in a single run. She filled in for the role of Heather Duke, a part she was not even the official understudy for, with 4 hours' notice. After Heathers came SpongeBob SquarePants the Musical, on tour, playing Karen Plankton. Then she landed a spot as an alternate in the West End production of Six, covering Catherine Howard, Catherine Parr, and Anne Boleyn. She stayed with Six until 2025. Every role she took, she documented on TikTok, pulling back the curtain on what life backstage actually looks and feels like for a working performer. Her series called Behind the Queens during her time in Six gave her audience a front-row seat to the reality of West End life in a way that traditional theatre media rarely captures. And here is the detail that makes this whole situation almost unbearably ironic. Amber Davies interviewed Hannah Lowther on her own podcast, Call to Stage. Episode 3. The two of them sat down and talked about Lowther's path from Tesco to TikTok to the West End. Davies asked the questions. Lowther told the story. It was warm, supportive, collegial. 2 women in the same industry sharing a microphone and talking about the grind. That episode exists on the internet right now, and the contrast between what it represents and what the tabloids are reporting this week is enough to make your head spin. Because here is what the tabloids are reporting. Sources within the production are saying that the atmosphere between Davies and Lowther is tense, that the growing online praise for Lowther's performances as Elle has become a talking point among the cast. That one insider described Davies as having quite an ego and said plainly that Hannah is 1,000,000 times better. Whether those quotes are accurate, exaggerated, or taken entirely out of context is impossible to verify from the outside. Backstage politics in touring theatre are as old as the form itself. But the perception is now out there in the open, and in the attention economy, perception is what determines the next conversation. The choreography incident is the detail that crystallized everything. During a preview performance, a video captured Davies losing track of a dance break mid-number. You can see the moment she realizes what is happening, the flicker of confusion, and then the instinct that takes over. She looks to her left, finds Lowther, and starts copying her hand movements to get through the section. It is the kind of mistake that happens in live theatre more often than audiences realise. Performers go blank. Muscle memory fails. The adrenaline of a live crowd creates moments where your brain simply does not deliver the next instruction on time. Davies herself addressed it on TikTok, calling it embarrassing and acknowledging exactly what the audience saw. She said she forgot the dance break was coming and that she could be seen looking at Hannah and copying what she did with her hands. That level of honesty is rare from a lead performer. Most would have ignored it, waited for it to fade from the conversation, and moved on. Davies looked at the camera and told the truth, and the internet punished her for it anyway. The clip was not shared as a moment of human vulnerability. It was shared as evidence that the understudy was better, that the wrong woman was playing Elle Woods, that the lead needed to be replaced, and the woman standing in the wings deserved the spotlight more. When Davies fell ill this week and had to leave the stage mid-show, Lowther stepped in and finished the performance as Elle. Audience members posted on TikTok immediately. The praise was genuine and swift. One person wrote that Lowther had gone from Margot to Elle mid-show and called her a superhero. The comment sections filled with people saying what they had been saying for weeks. Give her the part. She is the one. There is something deeply uncomfortable about watching this play out in real time. Two women, both trained to the hilt, both carrying working-class backgrounds, and the scars of industries that do not make anything straightforward, are being set against each other by an audience that treats a backstage dynamic the way it treats a reality television elimination vote. Pick a side. Champion one. Discard the other. The very framing of this story, that one of them is better and the other should step aside, strips away every ounce of nuance that the situation actually contains. Davies is performing 8 shows a week of one of the most physically demanding roles in musical theatre. Elle Woods is on stage for virtually the entire show. She sings, she dances, she carries the comedic and emotional weight of every scene. And she walked into that rehearsal room after 18 straight months of back-to-back commitments. The Great Gatsby. A last-minute entry into Strictly Come Dancing that took her all the way to the final. Then straight into Legally Blonde without pause. The human body is not a machine. When a performer tells you their body is fighting for its life, that is not melodrama. That is the physical reality of a schedule that would break most people by week 3. Lowther, on the other hand, is doing exactly what alternates and understudies have always done. She is ready. She is prepared. She steps in and delivers. The difference now, the thing that makes this particular understudy situation different from every other one in the history of British touring theatre, is that Lowther has 1 million followers watching. Every time she goes on as Elle, it becomes content. Every time Davies stumbles, it becomes content. The audience is no longer just the 800 people sitting in the theatre. The audience is every person on TikTok with an opinion and a comment box. In an interview with Pop Sugar last year, before any of this started, Lowther said something that sticks with me. She said she felt like she still had a lot to prove, whether she did or not. That is the voice of someone who knows how the industry sees her. A TikTok girl, a Tesco girl, someone who built an audience on short-form videos and lucked into a career. She has spent the last 5 years pushing back against that characterization with work, and the irony is that the same platform that built her profile is now being used to dismantle someone else's. This is what happens when social media meets live performance. The theatre has always had understudies who were better than the leads. Every performer in the West End knows this. There are people in ensemble roles right now, in London and on tour, who could walk into any lead part and deliver a performance that would leave audiences breathless. The system is designed that way. The difference between an understudy who quietly does their job and an understudy who becomes a public spectacle is no longer about talent. It is about visibility. And in 2006, visibility is measured in views. Amber Davies won a What's on Stage award 4 days ago. She has 5 West End and touring credits to her name. She came second on the most watched dance competition on British television. She took a Love Island win and turned it into something that no other reality television winner in this country has come close to matching as a legitimate stage career. And right now, she is at home on antibiotics, scrolling through comments that say the woman playing her understudy should have her job. Hannah Lowther went from a Tesco Express to the West End. She played all 3 Heathers in a single run. She covered half the Queens in 6. She has 1 million people following her career in real time. She steps into lead roles at a moment's notice and delivers performances that make audiences forget anyone else was ever supposed to be standing there. And she is still, officially, the alternate. Her name is not on the poster. The thing that sits at the centre of all of this, the thing that neither the tabloids nor the TikTok comments are interested in examining, is that this is what touring theatre looks like from the inside. The lead and the alternate are not supposed to be enemies. They are supposed to be a safety net for each other. One performs, the other prepares. When the lead cannot go on, the alternate steps in, and the show continues. That is the whole point. That is why the role exists. Turning that professional relationship into a public rivalry, complete with anonymous quotes about ego and backstage tension, serves nobody except the people selling the story. Amber Davies is having a terrible week. She has earned something better than this from an industry she has given 9 years of her professional life to. Hannah Lowther is having the kind of week that could define the next chapter of her career. She has earned that too, through years of work and resilience that started long before anybody was filming. 2 women, both Welsh and English, both trained, both fighting for their place in an industry that chews people up and asks them to smile while it does it. And somewhere between the viral clips and the tabloid quotes and the anonymous sources, the actual truth of what is happening on that tour is quieter and more human than any headline is willing to admit. The show goes on. It always goes on. The question is whether anyone still watching cares about the show itself, or just the spectacle of watching somebody lose their spot under the lights.